Welcome back, everybody. This is the Horn Takes podcast. You're very rough around the edges. Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. Happy Halloween. It's also Tuesday. It's Halloween, and I'm dressed up like a Horn Takes. I'm dressed up like a Texas Longhorn podcaster that is too stubborn to turn the heat up in his house. So it's kind of cool in the house, which I love because I get to wear kick-ass hats like this and really cool hoodies like this. Today we got the after action review for the BYU Cougar game. Talk about what Drunk Sean got right, what Drunk Sean got wrong. We'll have the quick and dirty on the Kansas State Wildcats. We'll get into some kind of off-topic stuff, but one of them is Texas fans need to chill out with all the Arch Manning talk. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. Check us out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at or around 12 noon. Sometimes the schedule doesn't permit 12 noon. Usually we go at 12 noon Central Time. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. You can listen to the podcast at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. We would appreciate you guys supporting us, giving us a follow, giving us a subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. Might be something cool you like to listen to. Who knows? Real quick, before we get into it, Week 9 Trace Otra games recap. So we went all season up until last week without getting a perfect week. We went all season up until last week without having an imperfect week. We've never gone 0-3. We've never gone 3-0 until last week. Finally went 3-0. So we're bidding hard to go 3-0 this week. Guess what, folks? We went 3-0. We're now 17-10 on the season. Starting to have a much more respectable record in the Trace Otra games picks. First game up, number 8 Oregon at number 13 Utah. Man, I really like Utah's defense. I have all season, but I just thought Oregon would have too much offense, and I just thought that Utah, without really having a quarterback, you can only do that for so long before it catches up to you, and it caught up with them in this one. I liked Oregon in this one, 24-16. I thought it would be a lot closer just because of the defense of Utah. It was actually just an absolute blowout. 35-6, Oregon wins that game against number 13 Utah. Number 20 Duke at number 18 Louisville. I liked Louisville at home by 2 scores. I thought Duke has a really good defense. I've liked that defense all year. It's kept them in games all year, but I just thought, man, Louisville's offense is better. Statistically, Louisville's defense is right on par with Duke's. So I liked Louisville at home by 2 scores, 31-20. They actually get the blowout, shutout, 23-0 win over Duke in that game. Final game, Colorado at number 23 UCLA. We were ready to be hurt again. We've had Colorado on our Trace Otra games twice, I believe. We lost both times. Terrible. Just terrible. But I was ready to be hurt again. And by the way, we've picked against them both times. So it is what it is, man. We caused 2 Colorado wins. I thought UCLA would pound Colorado in this game. UCLA defensively, especially that pass rush, just so good. Colorado's offensive line in the pass protection game, so bad. I thought there was no way that Colorado could hang in this game. I had UCLA winning this game 41-23. They end up winning the game 28-16. So not the blowout we were thinking, but definitely a win there for UCLA that puts us at 3-0 for the week, 17-10 on the season. After action review, BYU Cougars. So we did our Exaggeration Monday yesterday. We just threw out a bunch of thoughts, a bunch of stuff we thought from watching the game live and heavily drinking. So it's always interesting to go back and see what Drunk Sean thought versus what I've rewatched the game. I've had a chance to change my thoughts from Exaggeration Monday. It's cool to see what the difference is between Drunk Sean on Monday, Reasonable Sean on Tuesday. Let's see what they were. We'll start off with the 4 big questions of the game. We do 4 big questions for every Texas game on Thursday, on the Deep Dive Thursday. Question number 1 is, will Texas defense get back on track, or will they make it 3 in a row? The Texas defense had struggled in 2 straight games, hadn't looked good, especially in the passing game. I think the answer to that is unequivocally yes. Very good defensive effort for the Texas Longhorns in this game. Gave up less than 300 total yards, had 3 turnovers in the game. Just tons of tackles for loss. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Question number 2 was, does Sark change the game plan any without his starting quarterback? We were worried, maybe you see it a lot with backup quarterbacks. They just don't have the whole offense at their fingertips. They're not ready to execute the entire offense. So a lot of times when backup quarterbacks go in, you kind of see a game plan change. Plus, we thought, you do have one of the best running backs in the country. The offensive line has proven that they can create holes. Jonathan Brooks is a home run threat. You got CJ Baxter, who's getting healthy again. He looked pretty good against Houston. And then you got a guy, Jaden Blue, sitting there at number 3, basically, that hasn't got a lot of carries this year. But when he's been in there, he's looked really explosive, really fast. We thought maybe Sark might lean on that a little bit, or at least it's a question. Ultimately, we knew that wasn't going to happen. We said so at some point last week. We knew Sark wasn't gonna change what Sark does. We thought he'd be aggressive, and he was. He came out passing. I think 10 of the first 11 plays on offense for Texas were passes. Just crazy amount of passes for we got a backup quarterback making his first start. Question number 3 was, a Texas finally put 4 quarters together against an inferior opponent. We've been talking about how they did it against Bama. We felt like they did it against Bama. Can they do it against anybody else? I don't think so. I don't think they did, man. I originally thought they did, and we'll talk about that later too. The defense certainly played 4 quarters. Offense, not so much. And then we had a kind of an interesting, there's no way to answer this question yet, question. Is this possibly the beginning of the Malik Murphy era at Texas? We talked about how nobody really knows what's going on with Quinn Ewers' injury except for that staff, Quinn and his doctors. Right now it's just it's a sprained AC joint, which, could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on severity and pain tolerance, all that good stuff. It's possible that he doesn't play a game the rest of the season. It's possible that he doesn't play a regular season game the rest of the season. Could Malik Murphy kind of start the Malik Murphy era? I think it's really too early to tell, obviously, for that. I thought he looked pretty good in this game, all things considering. On our 4 keys in a prediction on Friday, we talked about 4 keys, right? Number 1, protect Malik Murphy. I think they did that kind of. And protect Malik Murphy just didn't mean pass blocking. It meant like play selection. It meant like philosophy, all those sorts of things. There's other ways to protect your quarterback besides just having him hand the ball off over and over again. I thought the play calling was pretty good for him, even though they passed a ton. I didn't ever feel like he looked uncomfortable with what was going on. The offensive line protected him okay for the majority of the game. Both of his turnovers, to me, were caused by breakdowns on the offensive line, pressure getting to him way sooner, especially that fumble down in the red zone, way sooner than he ever would have imagined pressure would get to him. Fast start defensively, absolutely. They started fast. They played fast the entire game. They finished fast. Great job by the defense on Saturday. Win the turnover battle. Yes, they did. 3-2. We said that would be important, and not just important like it should always be important. We know that you should always win the turnover battle, but this BYU team had a really high turnover margin, +9 coming into this game. And I think that's the reason they're 5-2, despite the fact that statistically they just don't look like a good team. So I think for this game in particular, much more important for Texas to win the turnover battle. They did that 3-2. And then key number 4 was just let it rip, man. Guys, you got nothing to lose. Get your ass out there. Let's play hard. Let's play loose. From a Malik Murphy perspective, just go, man. Trust your instincts. I think they did that. I think the Texas team came into this game, especially defensively, very focused, and they got after BYU's ass. And folks, I know BYU is not a great offensive team, but that was a pretty dominant performance from the defense. So I think they were ready to play. I think the offense was ready to play. Just a few small sort of breakdowns. And then we have the red zone, which I said on the show yesterday, we might as well call the dead zone. But I think Texas hit all four keys for the game on Saturday. The prediction was kind of interesting because my score predictor said Texas wins this game 33-17. I wasn't that confident. And I wasn't that confident in the defense. And I said that on Friday. I said, I think this game's going to be a lot closer. I didn't expect Texas to score a lot of points in this game, but I thought the defense would give up a little more. I thought this game would be more like 27-23. The predictor was closer than I was, 35-6. We'll see how the predictor does this week with the K-State game. Defense. Let's talk about this defense, man. It was suffocating. We said that yesterday. That was like the first word that popped into my head about halfway through that game, watching it live, was just, this is suffocating defense. This is like ridiculous. I mean, this looks like a pack of hornets on something that just pissed off a pack of hornets. That's what it looked like. It didn't matter who was playing. A lot of guys played. A lot of guys made plays in this game. They only gave up 292 total yards, 95 yards rushing, 12 tackles for loss. Just an obscene amount of tackles for loss. Guys, dominating performance. 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions, fumble sack, fumble, 2 sacks. BYU had only given up 10 sacks all season coming into this game. So 20% of their sack total for the year happened in one game. Players that pop defensively, I don't think you could start this conversation without talking about T'Vondre Sweat. That dude is just, man, it sounds crazy. That guy might be playing himself into a first-round grade. He's the highest rated defensive tackle in college football per PFF consistently. Not only on the season, but like every single game, he's the highest rated. And he just absolutely destroys stuff in the middle, on the outside. The guy can play right over the nose. He can play 2. He can play 5 tech. He is just ridiculous. The push he gets up the middle, the quickness he has for a man that, I mean, the dude weighs 360 pounds. T'Vondre Sweat, man, is absolutely killing it this year. He's been popping all year long on our players that pop. Another player that popped in this game, Jaylan Ford, man. Jaylan Ford came into the season, obviously, with lofty expectations. A lot of people thought he got shafted on Defensive Player of the Year in the Big 12 last year. I was one of those people. I thought he had a phenomenal season last year. He came into this season, and you kind of saw him get a quick start, and then it kind of faded off, and you just didn't. It's not that he wasn't making plays and doing his job and all. He just didn't pop like he was last year. He's starting to pop again. Jaylan Ford had some big plays in this game. Jahdae Barron's another guy that popped, and he always pops. You might as well put T'Vondre Sweat and Jahdae Barron 1A and 1B on players that pop defensively every single. That dude, and by the way, folks, he just made today, I believe it was announced, he's made the semifinal list for the Thorpe Award. For a guy that doesn't have a single interception this season as a defensive back, I think that's pretty amazing. I don't know who else made the semifinal list. I bet you they all got interceptions. Jahdae Barron, though, is like, I don't even know how. I mean, the dude is just amazing. He is amazing at the line of scrimmage. We saw him in coverage deep against BYU. Great player. Very deserved to be in that group of guys that are semifinalists for the Thorpe Award. Honorable mention, and there was a lot of guys that usually you just watch and it's 2 or 3 guys that go, bam, and they're having hell of a games. This week it was damn near everybody, but some honorable mention guys. Jamon Tapp, man. Jamon Tapp is a guy, defensive end. He's played the last 2 seasons. I don't think he's ever really had like a breakout game, and I wouldn't call this one a breakout game for him. But we saw number 17 a whole hell of a lot in this game. We saw some impact plays out of him. He was really good off the edge, got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He would have had a sack if Justice Finkley didn't get a sack literally a nanosecond before that. They both crushed the quarterback roughly at the same time on that strip sack. We saw Jamon Tapp covering a freaking running back down the field on a wheel route, and I thought the coverage was pretty good. He drew a flag. I thought it was kind of a nitpicky pass interference, and not just because it was Texas. I just thought it was a nitpicky pass interference. I don't think he did anything to like keep that dude from catching the ball. Justice Finkley, again, we just talked about him off the edge, man. He got a lot of pressure in this game. He had a sack. He had a forced fumble. Really active as well. I think you're starting to see some of these guys that are playing edge start to play some different roles. You're starting to see those guys be able to. They're more like outside linebackers now. They're in coverage. I've seen Justice Finkley in coverage a bunch this year, and it's weird. I think another guy that's kind of honorable mention, and man, really glad to see this for him. Mo Blackwell, man. Mo Blackwell was kind of in a battle with David Benda for the outside linebacker position earlier this, in fall camp and all that. He is a really, really good special teams player. He got hurt earlier this season or in fall camp and wasn't able to start the season with the team. He finally got to play a whole hell of a lot against BYU. 5 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He was flying around everywhere, and not just flying around, like being where he was supposed to be. Really good game from Mo Blackwell, and that's a huge thing, I think, because we need that depth behind David Benda, and we need to be able to rotate David Benda out, bring somebody in, give him a rest. So Mo Blackwell coming on at this time of the season is a really big deal for Texas. Offensively, Malik Murphy, I thought he had a really good game for his first start. I thought it was a really good game. 16 of 25, 170 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He threw 64% completions. That's pretty freaking good. I mean, I know it's not perfect at all. It's not amazing. But I think for a first-time starter in college football in conference play, I think 64% completions is pretty good. Offense rushed for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns on 35 attempts. That comes out to 5.3 yards per carry. Again, I thought the running game on Monday, we said the running game's limited not by what they can do, just by the amount of times they get to do it. Pretty good numbers. They did give up 1 sack. They did have 2 turnovers. Players that popped in this game offensively, Jonathan Brooks. We talked about Tavondre Sweat and Jahdae Barron. I think you're going to always have to say Jonathan Brooks was a player that popped. 16 rushes, 98 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.1 yards per carry, 4 catches and 40 yards receiving. Was a I don't know how you would say it, like a shoelace maybe away from having a touchdown in the passing game as well. Just stepped out of bounds, they say. I think he was out of bounds. I don't know how they overturned that call. I guess that's the best way to say it. Originally, it was called a touchdown. They reviewed it, obviously, because it was a scoring play. Just don't know how you definitively say he was out of bounds there. It doesn't matter. They scored on the very next play. I'm almost positive. I might have made that up. I can't remember. I'm old. Adonai Mitchell, another guy that popped, and he's been popping a whole lot this season. 2 touchdown catches, 1 long one, 1 great one on a slant pattern. I had originally said the other day on Exaggeration Monday that I thought the ball was behind him. I was wrong. It was I wouldn't say way out in front of him, but out in front of him. He made a great stab on that pass because Malik Murphy doesn't play around with the ball velocity. He gets the ball out in a hurry. He gets it out strong. Really nice hands by Adonai Mitchell, and then a nice job getting it in to the end zone after that slant route. I thought JT Sanders in limited targets had a really good game through the air. Two really nice grabs. The first one, he just gets the absolute piss knocked out of him on a one-handed catch. The second one, he goes up, makes a really nice strong-handed catch on a ball, keeps possession even though the guy is all up under him and like trying to rip it out and all that stuff, man. Really good catch there. JT Sanders, man, a lot of people think he's the second best tight end prospect in the draft next year. And man, I want him to be, but God, he's got to learn to block. He's an absolute liability in the blocking game. He's got to figure that out, man. I know NFL has some guys that aren't great blockers, but I bet you they were great blockers in college. I just don't know if an NFL team is going to take a flyer on a guy that can really only go catch the ball, but he's not a wide receiver. We'll see. I'm hoping the best for him. I just want to see him get better. I want to see him be the best JT Sanders he can be. And we see it a lot. He's not great. He's terrible in pass blocking. And a lot of it is just scheme. I don't like the way they try to match him up on defensive ends. But he's not real great in the running game either. Amazing. One hell of a pass catcher, though, JT Sanders. Honorable mention on the offensive line or offensive side, Jaden Blue, man. Jaden Blue's a guy we've been talking about a lot this season, wanting to see him get some carries. He's a guy we've been talking about since spring, really. Had a really explosive run in the spring game. Did a lot of really cool things on that one explosive run. You saw power, you saw quickness, you saw sort of an elite elusiveness, and a lot of really good speed. And so Jaden Blue, to me, very, very, very good set of physical skills. I mean, this guy was a 5-star before he decided I'm not playing my senior year of high school because of COVID. He goes off for four carries, 44 yards, and a really long touchdown. The speed was on display. BYU had an angle on him, and he just ran right past it. We said it earlier in the season, man. Jaden, a healthy Jaden Blue has to be a better option than a not healthy Cedric Baxter. And now Baxter's getting healthy, and I'm all on board with that. But Jaden Blue in the games where he gets some substantial carries is outplaying CJ Baxter. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess you could argue that the defense is tired at the end more than they are at the beginning. I wouldn't argue against that. I just don't know. I just think, man, Blue is like a massive, big play, home run hit type guy. And I think Baxter, while very good and definitely talented, I don't think he's that explosive. I don't know. We'll see. I could always be wrong. Anyways, congrats to Jaden Blue. Big run, big touchdown, first career touchdown. Special forces were really good in this game as well. For the most part, they've been really good all season. 5 for 5 on extra points, and that's no gimme anymore. So congrats to Burt Auburn for that. 3 punts for 162 yards by Ryan Sanborn. 54-yard average, man. That guy is killing it. Obviously, you had Worthy with a huge 74-yard punt return for a touchdown. The Gunners got down. Man, Keelan Robinson and Keaton Crawford are like shot out of a damn cannon getting down the field. It is fun to watch them get down the field and make plays in the punt game. And I say that really wishing we just never punted. But if you got to punt, you got to have some gunners like that. Really excited to keep seeing those guys. Let's talk about where Drunk Sean was wrong. So again, Exaggeration Monday is just all Drunk Sean thoughts. No game rewatch. I try to stay away from watching any kind of clips. Really, from the time the game is over Saturday to the time we do Exaggeration Monday, I just try to stay out of it. And I just get down my thoughts that I had during the game. So I'm wrong a lot. Here's where we were wrong a lot. I thought the team played 4 quarters. I don't think they did after rewatching the game. I think the defense did. The offense did not. The offense barely had the ball at all in the third quarter and didn't score a single point. Maybe the expectation is crazy that you score at least once every quarter, but I don't really think it should be. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. You got the talent that Texas has. You probably ought to be able to score at least once a quarter. They also got turned away twice inside the 5-yard line. Doo-doo. So, yeah, man, the offense did not show up and play for 4 quarters. The defense most certainly did. I thought we didn't run the ball enough, and I find myself thinking this a lot. And I, you know what? We'll talk about it in a second. Texas had 35 attempts in this game, and that's counting the sacks, whatever. That's well over 50% of their plays were running plays in this game. And I know I've been critical about this, folks. I've been critical about Steve Sarkisian and abandoning the run in games, which I feel like is 100% warranted criticism. And then I've talked a lot this year about how we just don't start out running the ball. And it's so odd to me that, you know, Sark says we're a running team. And I just don't see it. And I finally figured out why this morning. It's not that Texas has a lack of running game. It's that, and for me, I go, well, we're not running the ball. Like, you threw the ball 10 out of the first 11 plays of the game. When Sark says we're a running team, what he really means is we want to be able to run the clock out by running the football. And we want to be able to situationally run the football when we run the football. He's not saying really what I think of when someone says we're a running team. When someone says we're a running team, what I think of is that's what we're going to do a lot. That's not Sark's philosophy on it at all. And I think I'm right on that. We'll see. It's all about the situation for Sark. It's all about closing games out. That's what he means when he says we want to be a physical team. We're a running team, all that good shit. So I'm going to take that going forward, and I'm going to try to layer that on top of everything I watch, and we'll see how the rest of the season turns out from my perspective with the running game, and whether we're really doing it or whether we're not doing it enough. What did Drunk Sean get right? Malik Murphy was up and down. We thought Malik Murphy was obviously up and down on Exaggeration Monday, and we knew Malik Murphy was going to be up and down. But I think the ups were really good, and I think the downs were just kind of slightly down from what we would see with Quinn Ewers. He made some plays. We knew he would. He's a talented guy. He also made some not plays or plays for the other team, and that's just an experience thing. He'll get better at that the more snaps he gets. The red zone offense was bad, and I think calling the red zone offense bad is kind of disrespectful to a lot of other words, because they're really those words. 2 for 5 in the red zone, 1 turnover, 2 failed fourth down conversions. Folks, this is the Achilles heel of Texas. If you look at a team and they consistently have a problem with one thing, that's that team's Achilles heel. And this is absolutely Texas's Achilles heel. Most teams have one. I think every team has one this season. I don't think there's like a perfect team this season. I think the closest thing at this point that you could call a perfect team is Michigan, and they haven't played anybody. So we don't really know what there is to know about Michigan. But if Texas can't figure this out and turn this thing around, it is absolutely going to keep Texas from reaching their goals. And the goals are get into the Big 12 championship game, win the Big 12 championship game, and possibly, if you win out, be sitting in a position to play for the college football playoff. I mean, you just look at this BYU game. Whether folks want to admit it or not, scores matter. Scores matter. And 41-6 looks a whole hell of a lot better than 35-6. Even though it's negligible, it just looks better. just open up a Word document and type out 41-6 and type out 35-6. Tell me which one looks better. I mean, and it looks a lot better. So by Sark like continuing to like try to get these points in the red zone. And by the way, 49-6 looks even better. Which if you could punch those two in, that's what you're looking at. But Sark keeps going after these points and chasing these touchdowns on these, fourth and shorts from the goal line. We just are not getting them, and he's passing up points. I think you look ahead to, it didn't hurt him at all in this game, but I think there's some games on the schedule where I think it might hurt him. And they might drop a game, kind of like how Oregon dropped a game against Washington earlier this year. I love aggressiveness. I think being aggressive shows a lot of confidence in your team. I think it puts a shit ton of pressure on the other team. But I think you got to pick your spots. And now it's turned into one of those things for Sark where it doesn't. You remember I don't remember the bowl game last year, which bowl game it was, but Texas Tech and Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin went for it on fourth down like 87 times in a row. And it took till the 87th time for them to actually pick it up. But it was like he missed it the first time. He went a little bit on tilt. He did it again. He went full on tilt. And then he was going for it on fourth down. It didn't fucking matter what the down and distance was. It didn't matter that they were in their own end of the field. He just didn't even care. He was going for it on fourth down. And I feel like that's kind of where Steve Sarkisian is getting with this whole red zone. I got to score touchdowns. It sucks. It sucks as an offense to go all the way down the field and come away with no points. I don't know. Maybe they get it turned around. They start figuring out how to punch it in. In the meantime, though, we might consider taking some points. And then finally, we said an unremarkable 4-touchdown win is fine. It absolutely is. It is really good, folks, to be 7-1 right now. All games don't have to be a blowout. All games don't have to be just like and honestly, this game was pretty dominant, even offensively. Even though they had a third quarter where they didn't score, they hardly even touched the ball in the third quarter. They still made a ton of big plays offensively. It's now Kansas State week officially. The recaps are over. The after action review on BYU is over. The quick and dirty Kansas State edition. 11 a.m. kick on Fox. Big noon Saturday will be there. It's the defending Big 12 champs against the aspiring Big 12 champs. K-State 6-2, 4-1 in the Big 12. Texas leads this series 13 games to 10. They're 10-9 in Big 12 play. And Texas has 6 straight wins in this series. A lot of momentum on the Texas side. But Kansas State hasn't given up a touchdown in 9 quarters. And I know they haven't been playing really great teams. But the Houston Cougars scored, 24 on Texas? Texas is a 4-point favorite in this game at home. Kansas State, we know it. They're going to be tough. They're going to be disciplined. And they are certainly not opposed or afraid to turn a game ugly. That's exactly what they want to do. That's exactly what they're going to try to do against Texas on Saturday. Should be a hell of a game. We'll get a lot more deep into what we think is going to happen in this game on Deep Dive Thursday. That's coming up, obviously, on Thursday. Texas fans and Arch Manning. My God, some of you people. It started the second he signed. People forgot about Malik Murphy. Just kind of forgot he was even on the team. And then they made it through fall camp, and Steve Sarkisian said, Malik Murphy's our number 2 quarterback. And what that translated to the Arch Manning fundamentalists was, oh, there's really just 2 number 2s. Or to some of them, Arch Manning's really QB2, but we're going to redshirt him. So that's why Malik Murphy's number 2. You got guys already penciling in Arch Manning as the starter for next year. When Quinn Ewers leaves, which, folks, that's not a foregone conclusion. Like, I don't know. If he doesn't play anymore this season, that'll be 0 seasons since his sophomore year that Quinn Ewers has actually played the entire season. He's ultra talented, folks. Nobody will deny that. But, man, there's a lot of ultra talented guys. NFL teams, they want guys that can play, not guys that are hurt all the time. So I don't know if Quinn Ewers even leaves after this season. And I certainly feel like if you're just going to come out and say Arch Manning's the starter next year, I got to wonder, like, what data it suggests that to you? Like, what are you looking? What have you seen? What have you heard? Because as far as I can tell, there's nothing out there that suggests that Arch Manning is better than Malik Murphy right now. Now, he may be, let's say Quinn Ewers does leave. He goes into the draft. He's first round pick, second round pick, whatever it is. Malik Murphy and Arch Manning are going to battle it out in spring practice. And Arch Manning may be better. He may be better next year. He may be better going. Maybe it stretches into fall. Might as well, right? There's like nothing out there right now that suggests that Arch Manning is better than Malik Murphy. And I just don't understand, like, this. It's like the precursor to a quarterback controversy that doesn't need to happen. Some people get a name in their head and they get a perception of that name and they just refuse to give a shit about what's actually happening. And Texas fans, we are the worst at that, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. Let's all get behind Malik Murphy. Let's support him while he is the quarterback. If Arch Manning's the quarterback next year, let's support him. If for some crazy reason Arch Manning does get a start or does get to play this year, let's support him. Why can't we do that? Why does it always have to be the next man up that's the favorite with Texas football fans? I don't get it. Dabo Swinney in the news rips Tyler from Spartanburg after some show. I don't know if it's like a weekly show that he does and fans can call in and talk. I think that's kind of what it was, but God almighty. Listen, folks, 2 things can be true at the same time. And that's something that we forget a lot, especially college football fans in the cesspool of the internet. We forget that 2 things can be true at the same time. Clemson has had amazing success since Dabo Swinney has been there. Great success. They've been an outstanding football program, but they also have a lack of recent success. And there is an appearance right now today that the program is dwindling, that the best days of Clemson football are behind them. That Dabo Swinney is losing his touch. So this guy Tyler calls in, mentions Dabo's big salary, and just kind of asks what they're getting for that big salary. They're 4-4. And so Dabo goes ahead and stops him. He said, "I'm tired of listening to you, Tyler." Says exactly like that. "I'm tired of listening to you." And by the way, this guy Tyler, supposedly, we don't know Tyler, supposedly a generational Clemson Tiger. His family's been going to games. He's been going to games since before Dabo Swinney was ever the coach. His family's been going to games for generations. So, if true, a solid Clemson Tiger family, right? So Dabo Swinney gets all defensive and tells him he's part of the problem. Goes on to defend his success. We've won X amount of 10-win seasons in a row. We've played, we've won 2 national championships. Only 2 teams have done that in the last however long. Tells this guy he doesn't care what he thinks. And he can apply for the job if he wants to. And he uses swear words, y'all. Dabo Swinney, the big man of faith, using swear words. I don't think it was a good reaction by Dabo Swinney at all. You know why? Because Tyler doesn't get paid to love Clemson football. Not only does Tyler love Clemson football, but he has to pay. He has to pay to go watch it. He pays for merchandise. He probably pays a subscription to be on some Clemson football board. He donates to the school more than likely if he's a season ticket holder, on top of the fact that he's paying for seats. He pays to travel, probably. He pays to spend weekends up there at the football stadium. He's not part of the problem, Dabo Swinney, because he can't fix the problem. The only people that are part of a problem are people that can actually fix it. And the only people that can fix it are Dabo, his staff, and all those kids in that locker room. I don't think it's ever a good idea to patronize your fan base the way we started to see some of these coaches patronize their fan base. We saw Joey McGuire do it earlier this year at Texas Tech. We're starting to see Dabo Swinney get very defiant at the fan base. And the interesting thing is Tyler mentioned, I was a Marine. I was deployed a lot. I wasn't able to always watch your games, but I always listened to your press conferences because I always liked what you had to say. You were very motivational. But something changed in 2018 after you won the last national championship. You said you used to be humble and hungry. Now there's like this arrogance. And I think Dabo's response kind of personified that. It was very defiant, very arrogant, very, I've been doing this for so long at such a high level. Who the hell are you to ask me about it? And really dismissive of the fact that, again, this guy's probably like a Clemson super fan. His family's been Clemson super fans forever. I think Dabo's unwillingness to change and kind of adapt to the way college football is today is going to hurt him. He's going to lose his job. And worse, the Clemson program is going to tank. We got game 4 of the World Series tonight. I don't normally talk about MLB baseball on here because I generally find MLB baseball like impossible to watch. But I'm a Texas Ranger fan, folks, and this one is getting interesting for us. Texas has a 2-1 lead right now in the series. Tonight's going to be a bullpen game. We don't know if Adolis Garcia is going to play or if he's going to scratch. He's having an MRI today. Should know in a couple of hours, I would think. I think the big question for this game is, can Texas sort of slug their way to 3-1, or will the answer backs even it up? I think this is an important game for Texas, both teams really. With Scherzer going down, I don't know if he gets to pitch again. So I think it's now or never for Texas Rangers. They got to figure out a way to win this game 4 and set themselves up to only have to win one of the next 3. So we'll see how that goes tonight for those Texas Rangers. We'll be rooting for them. Join us on Thursday for our 100th episode, folks. Be a part of history. Deep Dive Thursday on Kansas State. We'll get all statistical. We'll have Sean's 4 big questions of the game. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Follow and subscribe, folks. Won't cost y'all a thing. I appreciate the support. Email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You guys have a safe and happy Halloween. I get to throw up a new logo tomorrow. I'm excited about that. You guys get hooked.